It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm your host, Michael McMillan, and here's your other host.
What's up? I'm Bryce Johnson.
What's up, Bryce Johnson?
I don't know why I feel like I have to be like, what's up? I'm Bryce, but there it is.
What's up, I'm Bryce Johnson?
Yeah.
No, you're Bryce Johnson.
Right.
Guys, this is our official first episode, and you're probably thinking, well, what do you mean? I just found this podcast on Podbean, and now it's on iTunes. That's right. We're official now.
I know, today.
And you'll be like, but wait, there is another episode before this one. How's this episode 1? Well, that's episode 0, where we kind of introduced the show. And now this is like our official, we're kicking off the real series. We've got our first guest who we're going to introduce in a second that I'm very excited about.
Yes.
But basically, Bigfoot Collectors Club is a weekly podcast with Bryce and me, and we're going to tell you guys stories from paranormal history, and we're going to talk about them with a guest, and we're going to talk to that guest about whether or not they're into some weird stuff like ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot.
Sure.
It's right there in the title. But this club isn't exclusive to just Bigfoot.
No, we do ghosts and chupacabras and other dimensions and conscientious projection and.
All right, now you're sounding a little hippie.
Yeah, we don't do hippy dippy.
That's fine. We can get there. Anyway, let's introduce our guest. With us this week, we have a very talented, very hilarious actor and comedian and improvisationer. You've seen him in Eagleheart. You've seen him in Project X. He's currently starring in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is how I know him. Ladies and gentlemen, it's PETE GARDNER.
You guys will put some applause.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
for
we'll
sure. Much more than that.
Yeah,
Well, thank
come
you
on.
guys so much for having me, Bryce
Yes.
and Michael. Nice to see you both.
Hi, how are you, Petey?
I'm actually super.
Oh, how did you feel when I told you what this podcast was about?
I was super into it because my wife Susie is very much into this stuff.
Really?
She's very much. She's taken me to mediums, and a medium gallery.
Wow.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic. And I always am kind of like, well, come on, really?
Is a
Right.
medium gallery, is it when, like those old surgical galleries where there's a rotunda and people are sitting up in the risers looking down at
Absolutely.
at a surgery? Is it like that? But
It's exactly like that, except totally different.
what is a medium gallery?
A medium gallery is where a medium, someone who talks to the spirit world, and I didn't buy into any. I was just like, I'll just go for the hell of it.
Sure.
And she had this. There was this woman, and everybody paid like $25 just to be there. But let me tell you,
you guys got ripped up.
no, exactly. And that's what I was thinking. But the $25 that she's getting just would never amount to the amount of song and dance she has to go through to
Right.
do this with so there's like 30 people in the room. And she goes around the room and she picks people and she's like, okay, you tell me, I'll tell you. So the medium says to the person that
So she's
she
really
points to-
bossy.
Yeah, very bossy and very much. Actually, she says in the very beginning, she's like, if you don't believe in this, just be quiet and hang back.
Just get out.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to struggle with you. Right. Anyway, so she points at the person and she says, I'm going to tell you how the person died, and then you confirm if that's the person that I'm, connecting with.
Fun game.
Exactly right. So she would do that, and it was amazing. So she would see this woman, and she'd be like, and it was amazing because these people would find out things that they didn't want to know.
Right.
Like, so she'd point to this one woman, and she's like, okay, it's your friend. It's your friend, and she died 6 months ago. And the woman would be like, yes. And she'd be like, and it's all throughout her body, but actually it started here. It started like
Pete
right
is
here.
pointing to his breast.
I'm pointing.
I know
So
this.
She's like,
and she goes, yeah, she died of breast cancer. And she goes, okay, she just wants me to tell you. It's just like, no funky stories or anything. She's just like, continue what I was doing. And she like, oh my God, she was doing all this research and she was trying to find, like she was, getting money for a cure or whatever. But she was like really doing all this research. And so she was like, you have to continue that work.
That's amazing.
And so her friend was like, oh man.
She's like,
Yeah.
so not only am I totally bummed out right now, I also believe in ghosts, and I got a project I have to work on.
Exactly. And then the best one of the best was that this woman was talking to this one lady right here, and she was like, okay, it's your brother, and he OD'd, right? You know that he OD'd. It wasn't an accident. And she said that it was a suicide. It wasn't an accident because he OD'd, but he did it intentionally. And the woman was like, yes, we know that. I mean, how the heck could you even start to get that?
Yeah.
And then she went all the way around the room. But she was saying about the brother was so angry and he didn't want to talk about your mother. He didn't want to talk about your mother. He kept saying that. And everybody was like, why? Like, what does that have to do with anything? And she goes all the way around the room the opposite way and comes to the woman that's seated right next to the woman, the sister. And she goes, who do you want to talk to? And she's like, who do you want to talk to? And she's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And she said, I'm the mother of that kid, of the guy who killed himself. I mean, and for the $25,
she's like, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
You wouldn't have that. There's so much song and dance involved. It's
amazing.
There would be too much. It would just wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah,
it just wouldn't be worth it. But
no,
it was really amazing, and I was blown away, and I just found the whole thing just amazing.
So you're a skeptic. Then you're a self-described skeptic before this.
No, see, like I believe, but I always So I'm on the fence. Okay, but like I believe.
It's a great place to be, by the way, though.
Right?
Yes.
It's not a pointy fence.
Right. No, but just like happily perched.
A nice, flat railroad tie, so it's a real comfortable sit.
Yeah,
and it's got a little.
And just you can really put your hand on your knee and just go like, wait a second.
You got some thinking to do.
I got some thinking about this because I'm always open to everything, and especially with my wife Susie. She's very open to all these things and talks about all this stuff. And I think she's just off the fence, and she can always hop back on the fence.
On the side of believer.
Yes. But she's always willing to be like, wait a minute.
Are you afraid that one day you might look up from the fence and you just see Susie going so far into the field?
She's gone.
You can't even hear her when you call her?
She's in the upside down.
Sometimes that's what I think she is all the time. But then you know what? Secretly, I think that I think there's part of me that believes that if it's true, Susie's going to be like, she's going to come and find me.
Oh, so you're
on the other side and kind of
wait a minute. So you're planning on Susie dying first?
No.
Wait a minute. I'm worried now.
I guess I am.
Guys?
Well, I guess I'll just I might be in like the downtime space.
Yeah.
Where they're just kind of like, you sit here for a bit.
That was Houdini's big thing. And he gave a password to his beloved. And he said, when I pass, I'll come back and give you the password. And because he was infatuated with the mediums as well. And,
very much, yeah.
And their hoaxery. And but she never did get that password.
Yeah, no, she never got the message. But that was a big thing.
Yeah.
That time period. What was that, like 1890s?
Yeah,
100 plus years.
Spiritualism was a big
It
thing.
was. It was kind of a con game, like selling potions. Like, drink this magic potion, you'll feel better with your thoughts.
And also spiritualism got really big during and after World War I because people lost so many loved ones that they wanted to contact.
And also from the Civil War as well.
Right, exactly.
The Civil War, there was such a massive...
There's two giant... That's like a giant death sandwich right there. The slice of Civil War bread and World War I on the other. So people were like really getting into ghosts and spiritualism, which is...
It's true, but...
And it's so and those old photographs are so spooky, they just lend themselves to... That's what I love is like all the old ghost trickery photos that they used to do because they were like discovering, that they could like, if we move someone, it's a blur, and if we have someone stand really still, it'll look like a ghost is moving behind this person.
But but that actually
old fun.
What we're talking about my story about from. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Well,
just because. Unless you have
this is
unless you
perfect.
guys have business, you have to take care
guys,
of.
Just my taxes.
The reason
those are in.
Yeah, but is it okay to talk about it?
Yeah, we want to hear. So Pete's apparently got a ghost story,
right? And now you know that I definitely hang out on the fence. But this story is 100% true. There's no part of it that's like, well, I don't know. That's what I felt at the time. It's 100% it happened. But what's interesting is that just to do the segue, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because there's a definite segue from spiritualism where this took place was in our summer house up in New Hampshire. Okay, so we used to go there every summer. And the right nearby, like the cove over from where our house was a spiritualist camp. where all these people were very much into spiritualism, and they had a temple that they had out there in the woods.
Pete, that's called a cult.
Yeah, but they seem
Or
like
The Path on True T or whatever that show is.
they seem like really good folk.
Right, of course, of course.
That's how they get you, Pete.
So when I was a kid, when we were growing up and we were staying in this house up in New Hampshire, up on the second floor, not every night, but usually like, I don't know, at least once or twice during the summer, you could hear footsteps walking across the ceiling. Okay? And it would sound like, like it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and would stop, and then it would go 5, 6, it would go across, all the way across, and it always went from west to east. So it always went the same direction. And so for years, everybody heard it. And it was one of those things where we felt like, it would always happen at 3 o'clock in the morning or like in the middle of the night. So it would never be like everybody was sitting around like, what the hell is that? Let's go look. It was always like, you didn't want to look.
Yeah.
And one thing I do remember though, is that one time I was in the front bedroom and I heard it. And I was like really, really freaked out. And I was like, am I really hearing this or is this just my imagination? And the cat was on the bed next to me, perked up its head and looked up at the ceiling.
Oh, creepy.
So it was definitely was a sound that was actually happening.
Cats are really good ghost detectors, and everybody knows that.
Right?
Absolutely. They stare at things in the corner. They look at things like that. If you want to know if you got a ghost in your house,
get a cat.
Get a cat. They'll let you know. And so so
wild.
that happened for years, and I would always come down, and I remember talking to my grandparents who were in the house first, and they bought it like in 1960. And they said, oh yeah, the first weekend we were here, before we started making renovations and putting like wood paneling up and all this kind of stuff, they said they heard the exact same thing. And they told the guy that they bought it from, and he's like, oh, that's raccoons. That's raccoons. Don't worry about that.
Right.
Now listen, around these parts, raccoons like to wear heavy boots, and they always walk east to west.
Yeah, it's just what they do around
That's
here.
what they do. I don't know if you've ever been in New Hampshire. I don't know about
You
you fancy
West
Hollywood
Coasters.
types.
So that's what would happen, right? And so as being a bunch of little kids, very much like Stranger Things, a group of my cousins and I, we would go up into the attic. So we decided one time to actually go up in the attic, and we had BB guns and everything, because we thought it was a huge,
So wait, you're a kid at this time.
yeah, we were just kids. And so we decided.
Did you still have a mustache?
Yes.
Okay, great.
It was
Of
just
course.
very light.
Yeah, right.
Very
Light
light. Just
Pete,
a wisp.
Of
You'll see. We'll
course.
put some pictures up. Pete has the best mustache in Los Angeles.
In the business. Well, except for Tom Selleck.
He shaved it.
Did he?
Yeah, he let it go.
And he
Now
brought
it's
it
just
back
you,
like-
buddy, on top of the
Really?
pyramid.
So anyway, so we went up there and we looked, and also we were expecting there to be like an attic, like a big room, like where somebody could be walking around or that they're whatever. And it was tiny. It was like a crawl space.
Right.
And then also there was no floor. It was parallel beams going this way, so nobody could really be walking. It was like there was no place to be walking.
Sure.
And so we were up there and we're looking around, and of course, being kids, we had like BB guns and a 22. That was like big artillery.
Right.
Having the 22 rifle, because we thought we were going to find a big raccoon in there.
Did you let off some rounds just for the hell of it?
Yeah. Scare him off. And we looked at all the corners, and there was nothing. There was no holes. There was no way an animal could get in there. So we were like, whoa, this is legit. And then years later, I'm a little bit older. I'm probably like 17, 18 years old. And there's these older folks that are up on the road looking down at our house. And we're like, oh, I said, oh, hi, what's going on? And whatever. And they're like, I was up in this tree house hanging out, probably smoking a number.
Sure.
And they came by, and I said hi to them. And I said, what are you guys doing? They're like, we used to live here. This used to be our house. And they pointed to this older woman. And it's like, she was actually like a little girl back when this house was first built in 1907. And she's
like, whatever, old people.
I know, I did.
Fuck off. I'm hotboxing my treehouse. Fuck off.
So I said to them, oh, well, you want to come inside? And they came inside, and they looked around, and they've been like, oh, I remember this and that. And my husband proposed to me out on that front porch swing, and it was definitely their thing. And they actually showed me places where they had written their names up in the bedroom, right? And one of the cool things that the woman did was she sent us a photograph.
Pete, you brought a visual aid?
I brought a visual aid.
Oh, we
They
got
brought a photograph.
Whoa, we're going to
We'll
put this
on
up
our-
on the
From
on the
1907.
pages.
Here's the house in 2000, or yeah, probably 2000 something.
Oh, this is really cool. So this is like this is colonial? What would you call this? Like Georgian?
The house?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It just looks
turn
like
of
an
the
old
century,
time. It's
turn
a
of the
little,
century,
it's a little
old-timey house.
Victorian-ish.
And the old woman, one of the other
cool.
thing the old woman told us was that...
Pass these over to Bryce.
Oh, yeah, sure. She said when I was up in the treehouse, she was
wow.
I used to have a treehouse just like that. And she showed the picture, and there's her treehouse right there.
Did she show you her old stash?
Yes.
Where she hid all her
No,
weed?
she had it.
Wow.
She was just showing it
Oh,
off.
she had a mustache and a
First of all,
hidden
that's
stash.
just a creepy photo of family on the steps
I know.
anyway.
Those are all ghosts in
yeah,
that photo.
all
So-
ghosts.
so-
all ghosts. Confirmed.
So one of these women here, it's hard to know which one is which, but I think the very youngest was the woman that came to the house and showed us that she knew the front porch.
So
and
we're
the
looking
swing
at
and
a
all
black and white photo of a bunch of like old-timey people and
Right.
kids
With the
standing
bows
on
in their
giant
hair,
stairwell. Yeah,
creepy
very
shit.
Pollyanna.
very
Right.
turn of the century. And so, but one of the older sisters, I think the eldest sister, I think what happened was there was something that happened with a divorce.
Siegel family.
And she lost the house.
Oh, man.
So she lost the house for the whole family, and they. So that somehow, I don't know how this worked out, but that the husband got it and his family got it, the Dailies got it, and the Flynns didn't get it.
Oh, wow.
And so she
Conflict.
was so bummed that she lost the house, I think, for the whole family. So we think that she was the ghost.
Oh, the little
Oldest, the
sister?
oldest one of the women on the stairs.
Oh, I see her.
right?
Sure.
Now,
She's the one that you
unbeknownst-
can see through in this
Yes,
photo.
exactly. But now, unbeknownst to her, to anybody, my cousin gets married probably another 10 years after this, and so there's people from out of town, and one of the people is staying in my grandmother's bedroom, and the guy comes out, and he was from San Francisco. He was a banker. He had nothing to do with anything. Didn't know any of this story. Didn't know any of this background. He came out, and he didn't come to breakfast in the morning. And everybody asked his wife, like, "What's up with Dave? How come he didn't come out? What's the deal?" And she's like, "Well, he doesn't want to really talk about it. He's a little shaken up." And we were like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, he's just very uncomfortable. He thought he saw something last night, and it really bothers him, and he's just very upset." And he came outside, and we were like, "What's up? What happened?"
I just saw the biggest damn raccoon wearing a pair of boots.
Combat boots. Army issued.
Anybody got a BB gun?
No, he thought he saw a woman sitting at the end of his bed.
Oh,
All like in white or gray, but he couldn't make out the face. He said it happened in like the middle of the night, and she was just sitting there at the end of the bed, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing, and he like looked again, and it wasn't there. But he was just like, it freaked him out to his core, and he told everybody at in the family and that breakfast, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, that was the ghost. That was the."
was
And now,
her.
so a few more years pass. And we're renovating the house. So the house is not on a foundation, it's just on pillars. And it's on a hill so that every time the snow melts, it all turns to mush, and it just kept moving closer and closer to the lake. So we had to build a foundation. So we're building the foundation, and there's two masons that are down in the basement working on the stone chimney. And one of the guys goes up to the truck, and the other guy is down there by himself. And while he's doing the tuck pointing and fixing down there, he hears voices and he hears people talking. And he's yelling to his friend who's up at the truck. He's like, "What? What?"
Wow.
And then the guy comes down. He's like, "What do you mean, what? I was up at the truck. I didn't say anything." He goes, "Oh, holy shit." He's like, "I definitely heard somebody talking down here." And then 2 seconds later, while two of them were standing there, they felt, this is what they said, they felt a presence. They felt like a cold presence move through them. And they were like, "Let's get the hell out
Right.
of here." And they
Classic
got out of here,
cold chill.
and
Classic cold chill.
They would not come back. But after that happened, and after the foundation had been put there and the chimney had been moved, that was it. She never came back. It was like, and people, I don't know that much about this sort of thing, but they say that there's like a heart of the house, or like
Yeah.
there's a central
Yeah.
place
Yeah.
in the house, and when that's disturbed, whatever. But we all think of it because she was never mean, she was never bad. There was never, there was only that one time that anybody even saw something, and so we always thought it was really that she was nice. Then we kind of liked having her around, but then we kind of felt like, oh, she's moved on,
Wow.
like she's gone on to whatever. And
Pete,
that was kind of fun.
goosebumps achieved.
yeah. That was
Great.
creepy.
So, ghost on the fence. I love this story, by the way.
Well,
So-
I'm not. I got to be honest. I'm not on the fence about ghosts.
Okay, great.
I'm definitely rock solid on ghosts.
Okay, I just want to check a couple things off before we move on. Ghost, rock solid. Mm-hmm. Bigfoot.
I would say on the fence, but leaning more than willing to walk around on the other side.
Because we're about to do that. Aliens.
Well, I spent a lot of time in Sedona, Arizona, where they, they're like the landing places.
Say
and
no
stuff
more.
like
Sure.
that. Yeah.
Say no more.
So I'm very aware.
Okay, great. We're going to take a quick break. Thank you for that story.
Sure.
So
Awesome.
great. This
Yep.
is already we're getting off to an amazing start. This is better than I ever imagined. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Bigfoot Collectors Club. Now we're going to go from that amazing story to our story of high strangeness of the week. And each week, Bryce and I are going to take turns telling a story from paranormal history or an event or covering a popular topic of the unknown. And we flipped a coin. Bryce is kicking off the show first.
Which I'm excited
I'll
about.
tell a story next week. But Bryce, what do you have for us today?
Well, so I thought I would just, since it's the pilot episode, touch on what I think stands as probably one of the best pieces of photographic evidence of either a bipedal simian walking through the forest or a paranormal creature living in the woods.
And we're, of course, talking about Sasquatch.
Sasquatch, that's right.
Sasquatch.
No, but is it a
Sasquatchy.
Sasquatch or a Yeti?
Well, we
He
like
goes
to,
by many names.
We like to do Yeti in the far north of the Arctic and the Tibetan mountains, and we keep Sasquatch closer to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, he sticks close to home.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's right. So I guess I want to give. Are you familiar with the story and the photograph and
I am
and
familiar,
anything?
yes.
We're talking about
I don't know if I know the
famous
story, but
Patterson-Gimlin film. This
Yeah.
is the thing that everybody has seen. When they think of Bigfoot, they're probably thinking of the
picture, the famous where
picture.
he's like walking and he looks back. She looks back at you.
It's actually a female.
Yeah, it's
is gonna blow
a
your
female
mind.
because she has. Well, we'll get into
got
that. She's got
boobies.
pendulous breasts, in the video, and but let me just give you some context here. So, I guess, God, where to start? So, two men, Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. Roger Patterson, a rodeo cowboy and a good kind of go-to all-around guy.
We're talking what years here?
Well, let's talk about right before this happened. So let's say the 60s. Let's just jump right into the 60s. Bob Gimlin, Navy II boxing veteran, a boxing champion for the Navy, a rodeo rider, and an all basically like a horse whisperer, still works with horses to this day. Roger Patterson is no longer with us. He died a couple years after the footage, but whatever.
Robert, if you can hear us, send us a password.
Send us a
Just
password.
a little clue. Little tap, tap, tap.
Yeah, so these guys live up in the Washington area, and anyway, Roger Patterson became, kind of enthralled with the stories he had heard and found some tracks around the Pacific Northwest, and once he saw his first set of own tracks, it was like a kid in a candy store. He lit up.
If you go to our Facebook page or our Podbean page, we actually have a picture of Robert Patterson holding up Bigfoot molds.
Yeah.
Cool old little photograph there.
And so this is really what drove him in a sense. And, so they lived not too far from each other. And Bob Gimlin would, to break his horses in, he would ride past, Roger Patterson's place. And Roger was like, hey, there's just some tracks. We should go check them out. Gimlin would be like, sure, I'm going up that way anyway. And so that's when he would start to play Bob Gimlin, these old tapes of like people telling their testimonies. And, Bob didn't have too much time for it. But
So around this time, people have found tracks or they've seen
Yeah, that's
or heard
right.
stories about what is already becoming
It had been-
to be known as Bigfoot.
it had been culminating in the late 50s. People had been seeing a lot of tracks around logging crews and stuff like that. Anyway, so it was around Labor Day weekend, 1967, in September. And so Roger had just gotten a call from somebody. Bob's not sure who it was, but a couple researchers out of Bluff Creek. And they said, you will not believe what we have here. We have, first of all, somebody left some equipment on Friday night. They came back after Labor Day. There are tracks all around this thing. Small tracks, bigger tracks. Wow. Right? Roger lit up. He goes to Bob. He says, we got to get down there. Bob says, I got a job, Anyway, so they get an expedition to go, and this ended up being, in October. Bob gets off work, and And they go down there.
Hardworking dude.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so they're going to suss out these tracks and to find more, you know. And what they're really looking to do is, you know, and this is what I wanted to bring, because so much of this story has been done, and the experts have put away the man in a suit myth, and I don't want to go too much into that, you know. I just wanted to bring context of what was driving Roger, and you know, I think it was like that: the baby footprints, the mama footprints, and the daddy footprints. And so they get out there, and they're right around Bluff Creek, and it's just Bob Gimlin and a pack horse, and you know, and Roger's horse. And so he's got a 16mm camera in his saddlebag, and they're really just riding up the creek because they're looking to get some more tracks, when all of a sudden Roger's horse rears up. Now, these are trained rodeo riders, and these horses are pro. Bob Gimlin had trained them all himself. Rears up. He falls out of saddle, goes to get that 16mm camera. What I love about the film, and you can see it after the, you know, look it up yourself.
I'm looking it up right now.
The full one, sure.
Yeah.
But he stumbles to the ground. And we're all filmmakers here, so, you know, but anyway. So he stumbles to the ground. He finally, like, moves to the side, sets himself straight, and then he gets what captures, you know, over 600 frames of some of the best Sasquatch evidence you ever see. And what's incredible about it, and he tells Bob, he goes, "Cover me," which means, you know, because Bob had a gun. Bob says he never raised the gun, you know, which I think is an important element. But he reaches over and he grabs that famous shot of what appears to be a female Sasquatch ranging about 8 feet. And you know, because when she turns around, you see these large pendulous breasts and the thighs on this thing. I mean, the buttocks, the musculature is astonishing. What I love the most is what Roger Patterson would say. The look that she gave him was like an umpire gives to that person who's messing up. You got one more time. One more time. Wow. You know, she gives that look. And Bob said he never raised the gun. But and then she goes off into the woods, and she makes great strides up into that. And they film her off and they tracked her too. And what I wanted to bring to this story now, because you could look it all up on yourself, is I don't want to go into a lot of like, hey, was it this dude in the monkey? Because, you know, there's been a couple claims of people saying it was the monkey suit, people in a monkey suit. There's so many people, you know, mistruth out there. But what I wanted to focus on was this family of Sasquatch. Now, what I love about this is, and this is the first time this theory hasn't been proposed.
Right now, I just pulled it up. I want Pete to see it because it really is. It's a
something
really
to
cool
see.
piece of footage.
No, it's true, and you know, and I want to just bring a little context in it
because pendulous breasts.
Because yes. Well, she was a mother, right? And what I want to bring to this story is that M.K. Davis, another Bigfoot researcher, he's looked at this footage, and he says he sees 2 other Sasquatch in there, and on 2 frames there's a flash of light. Now, I offer this, and I'm not the only one. I think Rhett Mueller, head of Bigfootery, Facebook, he also had the suggestion that perhaps Patty, as she's known, after Roger Patterson's wife, her name was Patricia. And once they found those breasts, they called her Patty from now on. They thought...
I just want to throw out a belated trigger warning for anybody listening about who might be triggered by the repeated mention of Bigfoot breasts.
Yeah, right. Well, it's important because if you're going to make this costume, who goes to these lengths to like these details? You know, and the costume, the people that said they were in a costume, they said, "Oh, I wore shoulder pads and we had a football helmet on and a glass eye and a long stick for arms."
That's the thing that gives it credibility to me is, especially in the 60s, if someone were going to fake a costume, you know, Bigfoot is still today considered to be a very masculine character. He's referred to as he.
Let me show you some pictures.
So if you were going to fake it, you would think it would take someone A, super talented to make that costume, then B.
So here's the guy who said he was in the suit, and I won't mention his name. His initials are BH for the Bigfooters out there. They know who he is. And he said he was in the suit that portrays this. And there's famous footage of him walking along, but this is the best their foot is, and it's just ridiculous to think that he filled out those thighs, that buttocks, those arms, those fingers.
Yeah, it's very.
And when they zoom, this
is
is the foot of his Bigfoot gorillas. Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And I've seen too. Shows where they kind of break it down and they will show actually the tendons moving underneath the fur. They can show how the foot lands. It's not a fake foot. And then the other thing they talk about is how, and I don't know scientific terms. I'm not a zoologist, obviously, guys. I have to tell you, I'm not a zoologist.
Really?
I know. I apologize for lying to you, Pete, for
Yeah,
3
because
years now.
3 years now, especially with the lab coat. That's
know.
really what
It's-
sells it.
That's the only thing I couldn't use my brain to sell it, so I had to wear a costume. But the way that the creature turns to look back at the camera, it doesn't turn. It turns its head, and then like apes, great apes, gorillas, orangutans, the way that their neck is made, they can't actually turn their neck all the way around. They have to move their shoulders along with their head to look around. And that's how she looks back at the camera. She brings her body and her shoulders around to look at it. So she moves actually the way that
Well, I love that you
apes
mentioned
move.
that word neck, because if you look on the neck at Patty, and one of the original out of Ape Canyon, Fred Beck, who Roger Patterson originally got interested, he's like, tell me about your Ape Canyon story. For those of you who listen, you can look it up. But Fred Beck said, these necks on these things were like bull necks.
Wow.
And if you look at Patty, her neck just sticks out to me. It is like, and you're going to tell me that somebody in a suit with shoulder pads and a football helmet? I'm sorry, I don't buy
Right.
that.
I don't think
you know.
I think it's definitely, it seems like a definite animal.
Yeah,
Well,
I've
and I
seen-
wanted to get
by
back
the way,
to the theory of perhaps what I think might have been happening is they had found these multiple tracks. And I think this logging company had moved in on a family of Sasquatch. The tracks were seen. They were wondering what this new equipment is. A month later, Roger Pattinson and Bob Gimlin, people are plaster casting these tracks. And now it's like you've moved in onto like this family's territory. And when Roger Patterson and Gimlin pull up on that sandbar, she's like, gives one look, because I think she was trying to steer him away from her baby Sasquatch.
Right.
And she gives that one look back, like, you got one chance, take your shot
turn
now.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she gives that what maybe I don't want to say, like, because I'm more on the paranormal side, and I'm not the only one. Bob Gimlin.
Well, hold on. We're going to get to that in the next segment.
Sure. I don't want to put too much, but there was almost like you have to wonder, like, did she give that shot for us, to like for all time to see?
Right.
Like, hey, this one's for you. Get it.
Right.
Take
it.
But
This is my good side.
Yeah.
but yeah, and just to give a little bit of afterword to that story, they plaster casted all of her tracks all the way up. Even they found like skittish tracks
Up the
running up into
hill.
the mountain. The stride being at like almost 80 inches. So her stride from the walk was like
that's
was
like
50.
That's like 6.5 feet about.
Well, they think she started running up the hill,
Yeah.
which is like it's amazing.
Wow.
Well, and the thing that also is really cool, you can tell from the footage, is it's really shaky and jumpy. At first, that's because she scared the horses.
That's right. He reared.
They're on horseback.
That's right.
And so the horses are scared. They rear back
Yeah.
as he's trying to get the camera rolling to
Yeah.
capture her.
Yeah.
And so that's why. And then I love the moment where you can tell that he kind
Well-
of runs a little further up and studies the camera again to get her as she walks off into
Let's
the trees.
play with it for a bit, right? If you're out there filmmaking 16 millimeter, this thing is heavy. Footage is like expensive and valuable. Okay, let's run it again, fellas. I'm gonna maybe stumble off my horse, and you get out. Like, come on, like,
Right.
And scientists, let's do the math. I mean, everybody's looked at this thing, National Geographic, Discovery, and when they do the mathematical analysis, they've ranged this thing at like 7.5, 8 feet. The stride is
Yeah.
genuine. It's like you just can't mess with the analytics.
Well,
you
and
know?
this-
I wonder though. This is the only thing that I know to be a little bit of a skeptic is how do you sustain like an 8-foot being? What is it eating? What is it surviving on?
Well, now we can start talking about, is this thing a simian foraging off, berries and small animal life in the woods, or is this thing interdimensional, like popping in and out of a dimension? And
We'll
and
talk
saying,
about that in a moment.
Yeah.
But I just want to put a cap on the whole costume
Please.
thing.
put it to rest.
Look, Planet of the Apes came around after this, and those costumes don't hold up.
You know what I did
They're
today?
pretty good though.
They're pretty good, but go back
for
and
their
watch it
time.
again.
Do you know
For
what I
their
did
time.
today?
But this is so far beyond. You've seen gorilla costumes. You've seen
Yeah.
bad movies from the past 10 years before they were digitally putting apes into things.
It's so
They're
true.
always bad.
And I thought of in my head, what's the best gorilla? Oh, Trading Places, the gorilla scene. And I looked it up. And you should too.
And this
Google
is-
Trading Places gorilla scene. But both of them, you're like, fake,
guys,
fake
right.
gorilla,
The other
fake
thing that
gorilla.
we take for granted is that the mountain gorillas, the great silverback gorillas, they weren't discovered until the early 20th century.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were given a reputation for being these ferocious animals. So someone in 1969 making a costume that, especially, in a rural area, and these guys are not, like me, not a zoologist, the attention to detail that they would have had to put together to make that costume and that advanced for that time, it wouldn't hold up today.
No.
It would not hold up today.
And there's just an eerie feeling when you look at that picture close up as your own individual and you look into those eyes. And what I think would be fun for our audience members is do a little research on your own. Look for those, are there other Bigfoot in this footage? Are there a few flashes of light? What is
watched
that?
A video, I can't remember where it was, where they broke this down. And at one point, you can actually see her mouth open and close, like she's grunting and muttering.
Well, that's right. That's called like
These zoom in.
What would that sound like, do you think?
I think it would do this.
I saw
Maybe something like
Really?
that.
Yeah.
What do you think? That's good.
That's better. Yours is better.
All right, guys, we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, we're going to unpack this and we're all going to talk about what the hell was that?
Great.
What the hell was that?
That was good.
Oh boy, welcome back to Bigfoot Collectors Club, and here we are, first episode. I've already made a fool of myself.
Yeah, I would like to make a clarification. I believe that Bryce said that it was Roger
Yes,
Patterson,
Roger Patterson.
But then a couple times Michael said Robert Patterson, the guy from the vampire movie.
He's excited. He's
So I'm
excited
pretty
today.
So what happened? Who was
in
it?
my
Was he
mind,
there early? Was this
I cast our Pats as Roger Patterson. I know I said Robert Patterson like a million times. I apologize, everybody.
He would
No,
make
but maybe
a good,
he's
he
coming.
Would,
Maybe
yeah.
he went back in time.
Oh boy, I'm an
That's a
idiot.
good casting, though.
Okay, listen. So now we've told our story of high strangeness, and now this is a minute for all of us to sit around and talk about what the hell was that. So,
Sure.
Bryce.
Yeah.
What the hell? Well, actually, I'm going to throw this to Pete first.
Yeah, I mean,
Pete, since
Yeah.
you're our guest, what the hell do you think that was? What is this footage of? And if it's a Bigfoot, what the hell's a Bigfoot?
You know what? That's hard to say. I think it's hard to know how. Like I said before, how do you sustain an 8-foot being? Sometimes people say it's up to 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard. And then also somebody said that the scat looks the size of an apple pie. I mean, what are they eating?
Right.
What are they sustaining on themselves? So
I think
wonder,
apple pies. You just
think it's
answered your own question.
Yeah, but I mean, like, would it actually form into another apple pie? Would just go in and come out the same?
There goes my interdimensional theory, right? Because that'd have to be interdimensional poop, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
What are they eating on the other side?
So much. Eggo waffles. We know this already.
Now, I think it could be possible. I think it makes a lot more sense that it is a female being because then it could sustain itself.
Well, in
when
this
people
video.
say this, well, in this video, but because also the pendulous breast, which
Yes.
is fantastic.
Great.
But again, the mountain gorillas were not truly discovered by Western.
Well, and they're
civilization.
herbivores. They eat plants. They don't eat meat, you
And
know?
they were rumored for years, but nobody actually saw one until like the late 1800s. And that's why Tarzan was written and so popular because they were Tarzan, Edgar Rice Burroughs was cashing in on this new phenomenon. It's like they were not discovered until like just a little over 100 years ago.
You know,
So there could be something out in our wilderness.
Have there
that
been
we've
any more?
seen.
Have there been more sightings since the late 60s?
oh, well, yeah, well, so that's just one of about 1,000 credible reports that are corroborated through scientific data and witness testimonial. That just stands out as probably one of the best pieces of lore and story. And you know, the real Bigfoot researcher guys, they do the best work on that story because, and it's out there for you guys to look at. You know, they've done all the hard work.
I think it is probably a native species. It's something that probably descends from Gigantopithecus,
Sure.
which was a 8-foot tall giant hominid that has since been extinct. So I think this is probably an offshoot of that is very intelligent and lives in the wilderness and knows how to keep a low profile.
That does not explain. Even Bob Gimlin to this day had felt that the beings had psychic powers.
So this is the other thing. So
I've heard
things
that.
get
I've heard
into
that as well.
wacky territory, which
It's
is
true.
not wacky like, oh boy, incredible, but really cool stuff. And
Yes.
I'm also open to this as well. So
Well,
Bryce, you think that this...
So Fred Beck out of the Ape Canyon story, which was a bunch of, you know, apes throwing rocks on their cabin, and they, you know, Fred Beck said they even shot a couple.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's true. Hey, how's it going? Oh my gosh, where was I? Let's see.
Fred, the apes throwing rocks on their cabin.
Fred Beck. Oh, that's okay. I lost it.
But now I wonder about this. You guys, I know this is only your premiere episode, but have you guys thought about possibly going to the Pacific Northwest and doing a show live from there?
If this show takes off, which it's going to.
I think it's pretty much going to.
We're definitely going to be doing some road trips in our future.
That'd be great.
And we're definitely going to go do some shows.
Would you drive, Pete?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
I have a van.
We'll never get
I have
there.
a van that we could check out pretty good. I mean, we'd have
He's
to
got
use
an
sleeping
awesome
bags.
van and a really cool treehouse we can stop and stay the night in.
That's true.
Awesome.
I'm definitely have
But I think
skills.
I think that Bryce, your theory is that Bigfoot is an interdimensional being that it slips in and out of some kind of portal.
Oh, I
between
remember
our
my
world
point.
and another.
Yes. Fred Beck, who this kind of whole thing started there. He was no stranger to saying, I felt this being. I was getting premonitions in my sleep. I felt this being was toying with me psychically. And this even goes back to the 20s. So I mean, it's there's a lot of. So who knows? And what I love is, and we talked about this earlier, just that the mystery of it all. I think it'll remain forever.
Well, look, thank you for sharing that story. And there are more episodes of this show to come. We're going to talk a lot more about Bigfoot as the years and the weeks go. It goes years, then it goes weeks.
Yeah.
This is the 10-year anniversary show, right?
But we're going to come. We'll be right back real quick with our final segment. Thank you for listening to Bigfoot Collectors Club. Welcome back. Welcome back to the BCC. I have another apology to make. It's Robert Pattinson. It's not Roger
Patterson.
Roger? No, I'm now saying what the actor's name is because
Okay.
I got that wrong too.
Oh,
Because
no.
Pete threw me off.
You don't have to apologize for
Roger
Pattinson.
Patterson.
Now
and then the actor
you're
is-
apologizing for me? Jeez.
I know. Okay, look. I know it's Roger Patterson, and I know it's Robert Pattinson. Okay, guys, get off my back. It's the first episode. I'm excited.
Are you crying?
A little on the inside.
Oh my God.
The tears go down my throat.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm gonna get
A photo shot right now for the viewers.
So, before we wrap up here, Pete, it's called the Bigfoot Collectors Club because not only do we collect stories, but Bryce and I also like to collect weird stuff, fun stuff. I like action figures and comic books, for example. Oh, and actually, the patch that is currently on our logo for the show and that we talked about last week, I was with Pete in Topanga.
That's
Topanga
right. I
Canyon
took you there. I
when
knew you'd
bought
like it.
that patch and gave it to Bryce.
Yeah.
And I have a couple. You can look on our
You think
Instagram.
that's a coincidence? I don't think it's
No.
a coincidence.
No.
I think you had to go on
I
that.
had to go in
Synchronicity,
there and
Pete.
call to me. You can look at
Synchronicity.
all photos. I'll take this opportunity to plug our Instagram page. It's at Bigfoot Collectors Club on Instagram. Please follow and like us. And you can see the photos of the patches that I bought that are really cool when I was with Pete. Thank you. That was my birthday. It was a very special day. So,
Went go-karting.
Pete, do you collect anything?
Do I collect
Yeah.
anything? I think, unfortunately, I collect TR6s, Triumph TR6s from the 70s.
What is a TR6?
A TR6
Yeah.
is a convertible sports car. You really should just have one in your life and then stop. And
Okay.
I got another one. I don't even know
You have
why. I
two?
did.
Two cars? You collect cars? I did not know this about you.
Well, I had
TR6s.
one and I got rid of it.
Oh, okay.
And it died. And it's just like really a pain. It's always working on it. and
TR6, if you're out there, send us the password. If you're listening, if you're on the other side.
And then the other thing I collect is friends.
Oh, you're very good.
Well,
you
you
got a
just
big
made a couple.
collection. But I don't have anything to share this week. But Bryce, you brought something.
Yeah,
for
I
the
did. I brought
Collectors
something,
Club.
sure, and it's going to be fun. So this was given to me.
Unfolding a.
This is a plaster cast.
Whoa.
This is a legitimate
photo
cast
this.
given to me by Cliff Barrickman, who's a Finding Bigfoot researcher.
Pete, look at me. I'm
And,
going to take a little photo of Pete.
And
in
he's
the
kind of
cast.
authority on plaster casts. And what I loved about this one is I believe he told me he had a broken toe in that. And I have a broken little toe next to my pinky toe. And so me and that Bigfoot cast share the same broken little toe.
The little toe, how can you tell that it's broken? This one?
Yes.
This one,
Yeah, no, I think when Cliff was explaining that it had a broken toe, that one next to the pinky toe, I think.
Oh,
I
the
could
one
be
with
wrong.
the little bandage around
And if
it.
I am, who cares? But Yeah, so that's a plastic
That
cat
is
taken.
amazing.
It's
What
a-
size would you say that is? I say that's a size 20,
Right, isn't that incredible? That's got to be like almost 19, 20 inches.
19, 20
That
inches.
is so cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know you had a cast.
Yeah,
That's
no.
pretty cool. What a
and,
score.
You know, in the making
Jealous.
of Willow Creek, we did a little back scenes footage, and our cinematographer tried to put on a couple wood ones that Bobcat had made because he wanted his own. And if you know, and so they put on straps, and he just took a couple steps, and I've got on camera. It's on the behind the scenes on Willow Creek, and he has the hardest time just taking a few steps on like nice sandy beach, like with these wooden feet on. It's like so awkward, and it was
walking
like
with flippers.
It was really enlightening. It was just like, oh, trying to put on big wooden feet and just walk around on the
faking it.
beach is almost next to like it looks ridiculous.
So what idiot is just doing that? I mean, what?
Well, they're
really-
out there,
what-
you know.
But what kind of? You can't. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a
no.
dumb.
What about this? What
Better
about-
ways to make money.
What about exactly like we were talking
Easier
about the
ways to
medium
make money.
thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Earlier, but you know, what would be interesting is to get all dressed up and get the big feet on and actually try it yourself and see what it looks like.
Pete, you're really pushing
I should
us
be a
into
producer.
some fun territory.
I wanna
We're going to
produce.
talk afterwards. Are you interested in becoming our manager?
That'd be perfect. I really would.
I
I've
love
got some ideas for you guys.
You've got vision.
I got
man.
vision.
He's got the van.
I
The rest
love
of the world
it.
is wearing bifocals.
Well, we got to wrap up this clubhouse session, but I want to say before we go, Pete, do you have anything that you would like to plug for our listeners?
just watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, 8 p.m. on CW.
Yeah, you'll see me on there too. And our next week's guest is also has recently appeared on that, but you'll just have to stay tuned. That's a little cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah.
What about the social medias? Where can we find you on Are you on Instagram?
Mr. Pete Gardner.
All right.
Hey, I do
Mr.
Mr.
Gardner.
Bryce Johnson.
Really?
We're a couple gentlemen here.
Formal.
Look
I
at
thought there was
that.
a connection.
I'm just McMills.
All right.
You can find me there, MCMILLZZ. Bryce, you need to plug anything?
Nope, just follow us at Bigfoot Collectors Club and Mr. Bryce Johnson.
And guys, we're this first episode is up just as we are on iTunes now. So please, if you're listening, go to iTunes, rate us, give us a 5-star rating. Even if you hate the show and you're never going to listen again, just
5
leave us
stars.
a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt you.
Listen, this is just clubhouse talk,
Yeah,
you
and
know?
if you
We're not hurting anybody.
If you love the show, then definitely give us a 5-star rating. Rate us, please. It does help get the show out to people who will want to listen. We would really, really appreciate it. Also, we cannot say goodbye without thanking our engineer, Riley Bray. Thank you for this incredible studio space, Riley, and all the hard work you're already doing. And also, our music is from the song Come Alone by Suneaters. We love that band. Check them out. Lotuspool Records. Thank you, guys.